Hello everyone, it is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another movie review. Today we're going to be reviewing Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. As always, I'm not a professional movie reviewer by any means, just a man who enjoys a good time, and I definitely had a good time with this review. Last time we did Star Wars review, we finished off the original trilogy, but now we're going to the prequels. So we're heading into a bit of controversial waters as reception to the prequels as well as the sequels was mixed. But I told myself I was gonna look at the Star Wars movies, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. We start off here with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Of course, we're going to get into my pros and cons and everything. In terms of what I like that it sets up a lot of things. It answers some questions that we had about the original trilogy, how it's explained in later movies, how the movie is going back to a time before the setting of the original trilogy. So some questions are answered, but not all of them. So some questions have been satisfied. Some we may not have wanted the answer to, but we got them anyway, I guess. But some questions were answered, and some stuff was established, but it also leaves room for more questions to be asked. But nevertheless, we see some stuff being established here in this in the prequel and everything, which is usually the whole point of a prequel. Anything is that it shows the events before the main thing. And that's exactly what we're getting here. So we see the fall of the First Republic, exactly why the Jedi face off against the Sith. We see the origins of the Sith Lord Palpatine. We see how Obi-Wan meets Anakin. We see that Obi-Wan had a master of his own, Qui-Gon Jinn, and we see how a lot of stuff gets established and why exactly Anakin became a Jedi in the first place, because he is strong with the Force. His midichlorian count was very, very high, and so because of that, they determined that he's the chosen one to bring balance to the Force, and so he's gonna be he trained to become a Jedi Knight, but then become Darth Vader. But that, of course, is a story for another time. But in the meantime, this sets up a lot of things, and we see that the Jedi, in a lot of ways, aren't perfect. They are the heroes and everything, but we see that they aren't perfect. They didn't want to train Anakin. He's apparently too old, even though he's like 9. So what exactly is the age for training? If nine's too old, well, then what's the age of training? What, they start off since like birth, I guess. But yeah, nevertheless, Anakin's too old. So Qui-Gon Jinn plans to train Anakin, but that doesn't happen because he's killed by Darth Maul, with the cool dual lightsaber. But instead, Obi-Wan then trains Anakin. So we see how that relationship starts to form. Uh, that master Padawan relationship starts to form. That was touched upon in the original trilogy. Now we're going back to it, and we're seeing the origins of that. And then we also see some of the stuff, even from the bat, how Anakin defies tradition for the Jedi. The Jedi aren't supposed to have attachments, but almost immediately he becomes like smitten with Queen Padme Amidala. So we see that and how it may lead to, and of course he's scared, not just because of the trials to come ahead, but because he had to leave his mother behind, as he was a slave. He was freed and everything because of the pod racing and everything. So he unfortunately had to leave his mother behind on Tatooine, so he has a lot of fear that he won't be able to see his mother again, and that's not the ways of the Jedi. So we see him challenging that, and it's pretty interesting to see how that's challenged, and those qualities, it may seem like, well, okay, maybe he's not the chosen one to bring balance to the Force, but he ends up doing it anyway through his death, as we saw last time in episode 6. So, if you haven't seen that review, I definitely recommend checking that out, on my YouTube channel. In terms of what I in terms of what I didn't like about the movie, there were a few things. For starters, some of the CG animations, because CG was starting to become a thing. It was starting to become more and more prevalent, and it's been around, and it was around for a while. They had quite a bit of it in like the Tron movie from 1982, but now it's like sort of becoming the norm in Hollywood. Is like CGI and things like that. And so some of those effects do look pretty cool for the most part. For example, with Yoda, who before was like a was like had to be like puppeteered and everything in the original Star Wars. Now how animates moves, facial movements all on his own and everything. And so some of that looks okay and fine for the most part, but then some of it does kind of look and it definitely shows its age. So this movie came out in 1999, and some of it definitely does show. The other thing is that the big one, on which actually I'll say that for a little bit. One of the other things is the theme of politics throughout. Now it makes sense, of course. This is how the First Republic fell, and how the Sith and everything take over the Republic, and we see how they start to infiltrate the Republic and everything. We see changing of the tides within the Republic. We see how the Sith start to influence it, but it's definitely through political means, and it makes sense, but it is laid on thick. But that's not really enough to bother me, because it does make sense in the overall scheme of the story. But then the big one, Jar Jar Binks. I've been warned, and a lot of people have been warned for years from this movie, that he was going to be annoying, and sadly, he definitely was. Now, he wasn't as annoying as I thought he would be, but he definitely was pretty annoying, and I know he's going to be there in episode 2. From what I remember, from what I've seen of episode 3, which was a while ago, so my memory of it is a little foggy. I don't remember him being there that much in episode 3, but I know he's going to be in episode 2, so I'll have to live with it for now. But yeah, so that's Star Wars Episode 1, and in terms of its overall impact in the story, a lot of the hardcore Star Wars fans, which I am kind of not, at least not yet, a lot of people have argued the importance of this movie and everything. I remember one of my friends saying that this movie didn't really matter, it wasn't too consequential, but on that I kind of disagree, because if you think about it, this is showing exactly why Obi-Wan and Anakin can have that mentor-mentee relationship, the master-Padawan relationship, that leads them to becoming enemies later on down the line, and leads to Obi-Wan having some resentment for Anakin becoming Darth Vader. So this is sort of the origins of that, and we see exactly why Anakin becomes Darth Vader, well, we see sort of the seeds of it, and we see how the Sith overtake the Republic, leading to the rebels having to fight against them and everything. So we see sort of the origins of that, and we see them taking place here. And obviously, episodes 2 and 3 are gonna go more in depth into how exactly Anakin becomes Darth Vader. But for now, it's a start. But yeah, so that's gonna do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. Of course, we got System Shock Radio and Tales from the Labyrinth coming out later on today. Hey, and we've also got the next review, which is going to be Sasha Banks versus Bayley at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace.